I am 18-year-old Jelani Christopher, member of the Elmore South High School, class of 2011. I have aspirations of becoming a leading engineer in the BVI. This, I believe, will afford me the opportunity to give back to my community, which has already given me so much, while I prepare the way for other generations of BVI landers yet to be born. I have already taken the initiative to register to vote because I am well aware of my civic responsibility and how much the BVI is in need of better leadership. Today, I stand in support of the NDP's advanced candidate, Mr. Myron Walwyn. I believe that he has garnered the right skills, has the right attitude, and importantly, knows the opportunities afforded to him as a young businessman in our community should be used to better the BVI and make a way for my peers and me. Yeah. But don't take it from me. Hear it for yourself, from people who truly know Mr. Walwyn.
When the story of the British Virgin Islands is finally written, it'll tell of the lives of men and women that have never been afraid to work for their development. It'll tell the world that British Virgin Islanders are a people who for decades have used their bare resources, have tilled the soil, educated their children, and subsequently made the British Virgin Islands a treasured destination of travelers, a leader in financial services, a home to a people with warm hearts and enduring spirits. These traits have allowed us to sustain lives that our most senior generation couldn't imagine. But our story hasn't been written just yet, and in this moment of our history, our destiny is imploring us to continue our ascent to greatness. The challenge of present British Virgin Islanders is to ensure that our country is being led by men and women that will help us to get there. Of those men and women that have shown they have the capacity to help our territory reach its destiny is a tenacious and vibrant young man, Myron V. Walwyn. Born on February 22, 1972 at Peebles Hospital in Roadtown, Tortola, Myron Walwyn is the youngest child of his parents' marriage. Myron grew up with his siblings at the family home in Freebottom.
I first met his mom when we used to go to a church. So when Victor was the pastor, so he used to come pick us up. So he'll pick me up first as I live in Paris. And then he'll go and pick her up. My boy, he was the youngest. And two others, a girl and another brother. Was three of them the mother had. Yeah, she had died. And she went home to Antigua and she had died. Very active. He could, all in his young days, he trying to make things, do things, you know, that she could get fun of. I'm very proud of him. And when he came here, he came straight up here to look for me. Because before his mommy went home and died and so, I live in here all the time. From the time they know me, I live in here. The other time I was coming, lay back in a nice black car. You remember the black car? I see this thing stop. I said, Lord, wonder who this is stop for me in this thing. He said, come, where the guy? He said, Myron. I said, this you? Don't pass me on the road. True. He's very kind and friendly.
When Myron was 9 years old, his family moved to the village of Seacows Bay, where he would spend most of his childhood.
I first came in contact with Myron at the early age of about 9 or 10. He was a student at James Ebenezer Farmers Primary School in Seacows Bay, and I do believe that that was my first year of teaching, 1981. When I see Myron, my mind usually goes back to those early years. I remember him, as I said earlier, always wanting to be the best, even as an athlete. I mean, in training him, okay, because at that time we competed, among the primary schools. And just in training him, I would put him to run against students who were older, a higher age group than he was in. And still, you just see the drive, you just see that determination in his face. He just wants to win, even though, in a sense, I'm putting up against people who should be really outclassing him. But much to my surprise, a lot of times, he would be right there, with the best of them.
At age 14, he relocated to his mother's birthplace of Antigua. There, Myron successfully completed his secondary school education while maintaining work in the hospitality industry. Having had a chance to work his way up the ranks at one of Antigua's primary tourism establishments, Myron was certain he would be able to make his contribution to society in the industry. But it would be the British Virgin Islands that would benefit from his talents.
I met Mr. Walwyn, I think, early 1995. He came by to apply for work with the Moorings, Treasure Isle. At the time, I was showside operations manager, responsible for the hotel and restaurant operations, and we were advertising for food and beverage manager. Dropped his resume off, and we were quite impressed with it, so we decided to move forward with the employment. Well, out of the gate, I thought he was quite mature for his age. He was very, very serious about work. He didn't mind long hours. He was very, very firm. Very, very, very firm. And I like that in a manager, but I think he was also fair, And I think he didn't have a problem with the long hours as food and beverage and hospitality demands. Very, very efficient, and he was a go-getter. Loved challenges, and never shied away from a challenge. It was a real breeze to work with,
To further his knowledge in the industry, Myron began taking hospitality courses through Cornell University. The courses added to his education and prepared him for the next venture, where he established himself as a serious stakeholder in the tourism industry and a determined business person. He also realizes that in order to be good stewards of the BVI Islanders must hold the highest standards for themselves and their desires for a greater BVI.
I've known Mr. Walwyn for many years now. I have seen Mr. Walwyn in many lights. I've seen him as a business person, as a community person, and I think that Mr. Walwyn is one of the persons that you can really go to when you really want to find out exactly how our tourism sector really stands. He runs Moorings, he runs Nexus Cafe, and I've dealt with him as a businessman, being Delta Petroleum and supplying him with product. He's a very serious person when it comes to business, and he understands that in taking care of your business and looking at the hotel sector, and he is very important for the BVI and where we need to go if the tourism product as a whole is going to be maintained. He's also community-minded, and he pays a lot of attention to details, and he's not a person who just can walk over that lightly. He has depth, and that's one of the important things.
Myron holds standards very highly. He believes that standards govern any organization. Hence, he holds the standards of the Moorings, of Charlie's, of Ginny's, of his other business, Calypso Cafe, very high. And I feel that he has taken all of those standards with him as a leader to be assertive. And as he worked even at the tourist board, for example, as he's been chairman of other boards, as he's developed Orion Law, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that a man who did not have standards would reach to develop at such a point. Those skills of setting standards and upholding them has led Myron many times, even in his personal business, to have to part friendship with co-workers. And I find that as a business person who works closely with Myron and who works closely with us at K-Marks, we have had to do the same thing, and I admire him for it. One has got to live up to one's ideals as a leader in order to maintain standards and continue successfully.
Always believing in limitless possibilities. After managing 3 popular restaurants, Myron went on to earn a law degree and in 2009 founded Orion Law Firm. In all of his success, Myron remembers where he came from and is determined to support those on the same journey. His contributions to the empowerment of young people has been said to be of such that prepares them for their active participation in the development of the Virgin Islands.
I can remember while going down to Cafe Tito on the lunchtime to make sure that everything is okay. Mr. Walwyn called me over and to introduce me to a group of well-established BVI Islanders. And his introduction was that I would be the next Accountant General. I was so thrilled, and it motivated me now to take the extra step, to go to college so that I someday can be the next Accountant General of the British Virgin Islands. He continued asking me, how far have I gotten with my education, and I told him, well, I've done my associates and I want to continue my bachelor's, so I'm awaiting a scholarship to be approved. So then he told me, let him know, how far I'm getting it, because he do believe that young people should go to college and make themselves more marketable on their return back home, so that they can help our country. And I went to college, and on my return back each break, the next day I was out to work, because he told me it is very important to gain experience while you get your education, because those two things goes hand in hand if you really want to become established.
Well, I know Mr. Myron Walwyn from a long time, basically from when I was a little boy, really, I think he was, it was him. It was the first time I ever got to work and, started to make my own little dollars, and Mr. Myron Walwyn, who gave me the job at Maureen's, working in the hotel area, and I can always remember it. And from Mr. Walwyn, basically, he gave me the jump to start to, buy my own school pants and buy my own school shirt and take some of the strain off of my mother. The majority of people might know me and might know my background and might know how I come up, however the case may be. But I tend to look at my background as an example of life. And it doesn't mean my background will work for somebody else's background by going to Mr. Myron Walwyn for a job, or whatever the case may be. But what I do feel as in, if he as a young man give me a chance to, make a step, make a change in life, I even say, jump out in life itself, with having such little abilities, or whatever the case may be, and seeing him out through young people, he'd be at a lot of young functions, as I say.
His commitment to empowering individuals as he advances has not only made contributions